Shalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Page 10. Yedid Nefesh Av HaRachaman Mishoch Avdach Eritzona Yaharutz Avdach Kemo Hayam Yishtachaveh Mol Hadarach Yerav Lo Yedidutah Mihinofetsu Bechol Ta'am Igalena Ufros Kaviv Alayet Sugat Shelamach Ta'ir Eretz Migvodach Nagila V'nismechabach Maher Ahu Kiva Moed V'chaneni Kimei Olam. Page 11. Chuneranena Ladonai Naria Litzor Yishenu Nekadma Fanav Betohodam Bizmirot Narialo. Continue silently with the readings on in the margins or at the bottom, or the Hebrew or English translation. Arba'im Shana Akud Bedor V'Homar Am Tohe Levavim V'Hem Lo Yadu Derachai Sher Nishbati V'Yapihi Im Yavon El Menuchati. We turn to page 13 as we work our way quickly through the Kabbalat Shabbat Psalms. Let's do the mystical practice that was practiced by the rabbis in Sfat who put these psalms in, because before that we would have just started directly with Ma'ariv. So it's perfectly acceptable on Shabbat if we want to just go all the way to the Baruch Hu. But as a warm-up to properly entering Shabbat, we have the series of psalms. So one of the things they would do for each psalm is to say, can you remember any good thing, any spark of the divine, any spark of holiness that happened on Sunday? So we go back, and I'm going to ask you for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I expect you have wonderful things to say about the first day of Rosh Hashanah and second day of Rosh Hashanah, but to think of one spark of holiness. In other words, if you can, I find this very challenging without my Google Calendar. Is there one thing, we'll start with Sunday, from last Sunday that you can remember, and sort of gather up that spark and collect it. We'll add the other sparks to it to enter Shabbat with good things that happened in the past week, or good things we thought. Even just the sun, beautiful view of the sky, could be anything. Lifnei Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz, yishpot hevel b'tzedek, v'amin be'emunato. We're on page 15. Anything from Monday? One good thing that happened on Monday. First day, Rosh Hashanah. Was that all the way back on Monday? I feel like it was yesterday. Orzaru ala tzadik, uyishrei lev simcha, simchu tzadikim b'Adonai, rodu l'zecher kodsho. Something from second day Rosh Hashanah, something from Tuesday. Something nice, something good, some little spark of beauty. beauty or holiness. Shiru Adonai Shir Chadash Niflaot Asam. V'chatzot tzrot v'kol shofar. Lifnei Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz, lishpot hevel b'tzedek, damim b'meisharim. Page 19, something from Wednesday, day after second day Rosh Hashanah. Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu lehar kodsho, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Page 21, something from Thursday. Yizmor leDavid havu l'Adonai. Adonai lamabel yashav, vayeshev Adonai melech leolam. Adonai oz amo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. We skip to page 23. Let's chant L'chadodi, welcome in Shabbat. I have not forgotten Friday. We will get there. L'chadodi likrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shem ol tiferet v'litila. L'chadodi likra akala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likra akala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor haberacha, me'irosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava tefila. Lecha dodi likra akala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likra akala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, kumitzei mitoch ha'hapecha, rav lach shevet be'emek habacha, v'hu yachamol Allah yichemha. Lecha dodi likra akala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likra akala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. 25. V'hayu limshisa shosayich, v'rachaku kol mevalayich, ya'asis alayich Elohayich, kimsos chatan akala. Lecha dodi likra akala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likra akala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Yamin u'shmalo tifrotzi, v'yet Adonai taritzi, ayarish ben vartzi, v'nismecha ben nagila. Lecha dodi Lecha dodi likra akala. Pene Shabbat nekabela. Please rise. Lecha dodi likra akala. Pene Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom aterepala. Gam b'simcha uvetzala. Toch emuneh am segula. Boi chala, boi chala. Lecha dodi likra akala. Pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likra akala. And a Shabbat nekabela. Shabbat Shalom. May we may be seated as we turn to 27. Mizmor shir, shir liyom haShabbat. Mizmor shir, shir liyom haShabbat. Page 28, where you have the red triangle. Tzadikata hamar yifra ke'erez bavanon yiske shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrihu odinuvon b'seva D'shenim v'ra'nanim yihu lehagid Yashar Adonai tzuri v'lo havlatavo. Page 29, something from Friday, something from earlier today that was good to bring into your Shabbat, to complete the construction. Techanemnu me'od leveitcha nava kodesh Adonai le'orech yamim. The first of our two mourners' Kaddishes is on page 30, and I'd like to spend the time now to commemorate the Yortzites for this night. On this Shabbat, Beth Israel congregation remembers, among others, Sandra Ackerman, Norman Bash, Georgiana Snyder-Beckold, Samuel Benjamin, Claire Bernstein, Harold Blumson, Jacob M. Booth, Philip Bresner, Esther Cook, Harold Demersky, Samuel Epstein, Max Fleischer, Greta Forsman, Joel Garbolsky, Nehemiah Garbolsky, Benjamin Glicksman, Ethel Golden, Herbert Goldstein, Yvonne Good, Manuel Gross, Molly Isaacson, Pinchas Casanel-Bogan, Jacob Kluger, Alta Lipnick, Stanley Morgenstern, Estelle Mendez-Reiner, Florence Schaffer, Anna Schwab, Helen Segar, Sue Schindler, Franklin David Seiden, Florence Steinberg, and Herbert Winston. As we continue to say Kaddish for Judith Cashton, and we wish Martha Young and her entire family comfort at this time of the unveiling. Lorraine Sherman, Michael Adams, Leona Leon, Phyllis Werble, Fanchen Lessing, Carol Feinerman, David Fallman, Bruce Dahl, Carol Amster, Gary Joseph Ullman, Paul Ernest Phillips, Leslie Garber Matthews, Raisa Levinskaya, Alice Cohen, Toby Barbin Rothaus, Vivian Perlstein, Marty Lindenauer, Bonnie Rosenberg, Harleen Appelman, and Dr. Lionel Finkelstein. For those who are reciting the Mourner's Kaddish, please rise and recite with me. The text can be found on page 30 on both sides of the page. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divra pirute v'yamlich malchute, V'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabba mevarach le'olam olameh amaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitromam v'yinaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata. Ta'amira v'yalma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim alinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Useh shalom b'mramav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha. May their memories continue to bring blessings to this world, as I know they do. The service continues on page 39a. We continue with Mariv at this time. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bivaro Mariv aravim. And Guy, I want to ask, I'm going to just give you a heads up. If you would be willing to do it, there's a reading in English on page 45. You got like 5 or 10 minutes. If you'd be willing to read, it's the Hashki Benu Harvey, but it's kind of a little different here. But on page 45, if you feel like reading it, we would love you to. And if you don't feel like reading it, that's perfectly fine. Nope, I wanted to give you plenty of warning to look at it. So we're on page 39, but you're not till 45. Umavir yom umevi laila, mavdil ben yom uven laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamidim lo chalenu le'olam va'ed, baruch atah Adonai, hama'arihi v'aravim. Page 40. Ahavat olam be'Yisrael, amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu, v'shochrenu v'kumeinu, nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha, le'olam v'ed. Ki hem chayenu v'yorech yameinu, v'yorech yameinu, uvahem nege yomam v'layla. V'yavatcha tasimenu l'olamim, baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Continue on page 41. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levavcha, u'b'chol nafshecha, u'b'chol me'odecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha, hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uv'lechtecha b'derech, uv'shachpecha uv'kumecha, uv'shartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uv'hisharecha. We continue silently on 42 and 43. Page 44. Malchuto b'ratzon kiblu aleihem Moshe Miriam u'bnei Yisrael l'chanusha b'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh Nora tehilot hosefele malchutecha ra'u v'necha bokei yam lifnei Moshe Ze'eli anu v'yamru Adonai imlo Eolam va'ed V'ne'emar kifada Adonai Yaakov V'golam chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. We're at the Hashkivenu on page 45. Guy, how do you feel? Would you be willing to read it for us? Would you come on up so that we have people streaming the service, and I will stand over here. Yeah. You can't make a mistake.
Allow us, Adonai, our God, to sleep peacefully. Awaken us to our life, O Sovereign. Spread over us your canopy of peace. Restore us with your good counsel, and save us for the sake of your name. Shield us. Remove from us enemies, pestilence, sword, and starvation, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you, God, watch over and deliver us. And you, God, are sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Ensure our going and coming for life and peace, and now and forever. May you spread over us your canopy of peace, Baruch atah Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people over all the people in Israel and over Jerusalem.
Amen. Nicely done. Thank you for doing that. I know it took time to prepare and also took a little courage to come up on a bima. Nicely done. So Guy, I mean, and all of us, I know it sounds like a bunch of sort of highfalutin words, but it's really very, very real that tonight we're especially, I mean, if there's an especially allowed, we're especially wishing for that kind of sense of peace and security to go out to everyone who's suffering from the flooding and the rains that are going on now. And we know that there are people who are safe, but they're worried about their pets. We have people who are safe, but they're worried about their relatives and family members they can't get in touch with, people without power and, watching their food go bad, watching, the sorrow that it talks about, watching their photo books and the things that they love that they've stored in their basements that are now full of water and maybe ruined, losing pictures and family heirlooms. So, and worrying about whether someone will come and get them or whether they'll have enough to eat. So we really feel removed from them all sense of panic, concern, and fear, remove from them any hunger and from sorrow. So may they find peace at this time, along with all of those in Israel and Ukraine and beyond who are needing a restful and healing sleep on this night. It takes us to page 46. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinavash. We have the Hatzi Kaddish and then some silent prayer. And if you're looking for, I'm going to share a very brief teaching. It's not really teaching. It's just something that's been on my mind. So on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, when I said there are all kinds of ways that people can become addicted to a pattern, which in that pattern, there's some kind of temporary relief and maybe even control, because there's some part of one's life where they feel that they just can't bring sanity to it. They can't change it. They just can't fix it. They're not sure. And so you find a pattern And it could be a very serious addiction, but it can spread all the way to, well, at least I can sit here and read the New York Times or do the crossword or check my phone 20 times. And I always, I'm serious about the fact that I have many, many faults as a rabbi. But one of them, I hope I don't have. And if I do, I'll admit it on a different day if I realize it, is I never preach something I don't practice. And that can be limiting because maybe you should hear about things I don't practice that are very helpful. But fortunately, we have Rabbi Dobson and others who can do that. So I've been practicing this. And one pattern I particularly have is I notice that when there's a situation that I feel like can't bring sanity to it. I can't change the people, you can't change your mother, you can't change your daughter, you can't change the world, you can't change the environment, you can't change DTE, whatever it is you can't change, that I complain. And I notice it because it forms a pattern. I mean, I can tell because just as someone in an addiction, they'll be doing the same thing over and over again. I'll be making the same complaint over and over again. And I wonder, like, what does Lynn think? I mean, Lynn's heard this 100 times. Maybe I'm complaining to Jerry. And I'm like, this must be a weird experience for Jerry. He's sitting here and I'm complaining about something. He's heard it 50 times. Like he must, and that's an addiction. Like, why am I saying the same thing over and over again? So I have a pattern where I've created a little eddy off of the river and I'm going in circles and I'm very comfortable circle. It somehow is soothing me on some level. Thank God it's not a drug, but for many people, a drink serves that purpose or more or other things. So what's the opposite? And so I asked my wife because she hears me complain. I said, and she has a degree in counseling. And she said, the opposite of an addiction to complaining is problem solving. And so that's my whole teaching. I'm not going to give you a sermon on it. I mean, I'm just thinking a lot for me about how I can say, okay, I'm heading into my pattern. Before I do that, instead of saying, Nadav, you have to fix the whole thing, because I know that a lot of times we can't fix other people. Right. And that's why we study things like codependence and enabling and family structures. My dad just will never get it, that kind of thing. So you have to figure out, how can I bring sanity to a situation where I'm not expecting others to change? And that's a great sermon and not tonight's. But what I can do is try to problem solve. Right. And that at least is a different action that heads directly there. It feels productive and it doesn't end up in an eddy off the main track. So for me, I'm trying to learn how to find myself not in the habit of complaining. And when I started to step back and say, well, you know what, this is what you should do with all bad habits. There are a lot of good books on this. I'll tell you what, if I really want to do that in 5 minutes, I will. So if I want to storm into Jerry's office, say, Jerry, I want to complain about something, blah, 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 blah. And every time I want fresh challah, there isn't one, or whatever it is. 100 million times, right? We have great challah, so that's not it. But I said, you know what? If in 5 minutes I want to do this, I want to complain, I'll do it. But before I do that, I will spend 5 minutes trying to problem solve. I'll take one step in the direction of problem solving, and that's my resolution for that. I mean, I have more than one, but that's one of my big. I don't have 20. That's probably going to be one of my 3 resolutions for this year, 4 resolutions for this year. I'll work on it. I hope that speaks to something in your life. Maybe you can make an analogy to another aspect of your existence. So we have the Chatzi Kaddish, we have silent prayer. During the silent prayer, you're welcome to close your eyes and think about what your resolution or resolutions may be. Please rise as we are in this intense period of the days of awe, before our resolutions and others are, in a sense, sealed as well as released. Yitkada v'yikada shemiraba v'yamad yivrak yurtei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imeru amen yeheshmera b'mevarach v'yalam u'lam me'omaya Yitbarach v'ishtabach v'par v'tramam v'naseh v'tadar v'taleh v'talal shmer kudesha richu le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata damihiran b'yama b'imeru. 47 and forward are your own meditations. Remember that on 48, tonight is Shabbat Shuvah. So anytime it says on Shabbat Shuvah we add, please add. Sefer Chaim beracha v'shalom u'parnasa tova nizacher v'nikatev lefanecha anachnu v'chol amcha beit Yisrael l'chaim tovim u'leshalom ולשלום, ברוך אתה אדוני, עושה השלום. יקדל ויקדש שמי רבה, ויעמד יברקרתי, וימליך מלכותי, וחייכונו ויאמרכם חייתך בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב ויאמרו, אמן, יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעולם עולם ויום Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitramam v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitala v'yitala shmeru kudeshaha le'ela mikol berchata v'shirata tishbchata v'nechemata damiram v'yama v'imeru titkabal tzlo tonavat tondachol Yisrael kodam avahondi v'shmaya v'imeru yehe shamar abamin shemaya v'chayim aleva kol Yisrael v'imeru oseh shalom b'mromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru. Amen. Page 56 for Aleinu. Aleinu v'shabeach l'adon ha'kol v'atei kilor yosef reshit shelo sanu v'kayei ha'atzot v'lo samanu mishpachot ha'adama shelo samchati l'kahen v'yor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. שלום. כתוב בתורתך אדוני לא לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו Mourner's Kaddish for those who are reciting on page 58. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah v'yalma divra pirute v'yamlich malchute v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitramam v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitala v'yitalal shmei kudesha brichu le'ela mikol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Aseh shalom b'mromav v'yaseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. We turn to page 59 for Psalm 27. David Adonai ori v'yishimi ma'amecha. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai ota avakesh. Shivti b'veit Adonai kol yemei chayai. Lachzot benoam Adonai levaker behechalot. Lehamati l'rot b'tuv Adonai be'eretz chayim. Kaveh el Adonai chazak, ve'ametz libecha v'kaveh el Adonai. Once again, Mourner's Kaddish on page 58, extra Kaddishes because of this time of year. Those reciting, please rise. Yigadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divra pirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitromam v'yinaseh. V'yitadar v'yitala v'yitalal shmei kudesha brichu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Se shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. B'imru. Amen. Thank you. May their memories continue to bring blessings to this world. A couple of brief announcements. Kever Avot is this Sunday. It's easy to miss in terms of all the announcements, but at Arbor Crest Memorial Park, the Beth Israel Gardens at Arbor Crest, at 2 p.m. on Sunday, I'll be there to lead a few simple prayers and then to visit graves at this time of year for Kever Avot, for those who want to do so. People are welcome to do this on their own. They don't need to come to the time when I'm there, but if you'd like to come when I'm there, I'll be there at 2 p.m. For those who want to remember people and visit graves at Washtenaw, I'll be sending out an email to them individually. I thought I would go individually with people since I want to make sure I can coordinate times they can definitely make, because we've only just begun at Washtenaw and there are fewer people. So again, that's 2 p.m. this coming Sunday. I'll be at Beth Israel Memorial Park at Arbor Crest. Are there any announcements? Of course, services tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. And I think that was the main thing I wanted to say. If there's anything else, Jerry, you want to, well, also remember that on Kol Nidre, we bring bags of food that will be donated to the food pantries and most especially, remember, it should be non-perishable food, especially food gatherers, but also the JFS food pantries. So, I'm sorry, what? Oh yeah, go ahead, Arvid. Thank you. Thanks. Social Action Committee, Sunday, 10:30. I want to thank everyone who joined us by streaming because you made the minion this morning. I went back and checked at the time to make sure. And so thank you for joining us. And thanks especially to people who joined us in the sanctuary at this time. And so for a closing song tonight, let's do Oseh Shalom, the end of the Kaddish. Oseh Shalom Bimromav. Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Yaseh Shalom Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom Shalom Aleinu V'al kol Yisrael. Gemar Chatima Tova. May everyone be inscribed for a good and healthy year. Shana Tova.
Very much. How's it going?
Shana Tova. Thanks. I look forward to seeing you soon.
We have a whole bunch more people registered and Madison showed up.
Sure.
We got the same. We have about to register.